Hey, what's good, people? Back again. Arsenal lose 3-1 away. I've already talked about the issues with Emery and his team selections and the fact that he's not... Let's phase him as a composer, because that's what he's been doing differently to what Wenger did previously. You know, people kept saying Wenger and Steve Bold are sitting down, doing nothing when we're in trouble. And it was a delight to see Emery not doing that. It was a delight to see him stepping up. It was a delight to see Emery just standing up like an orchestra, just diverting the play, pulling players into their gaps, managing the lines, how high or how deep and how high the lines can be. And that's been a blessing, and that's a key factor in our success this season, especially in the 22-game winning streak. But what we're seeing, and I've repeated this, what we're seeing is a lack of that. We're seeing a lack of understanding in what's going on. And yesterday, we were dominating the game for half an hour. And as soon as that red card came, the red flags started coming. All the issues that had plagued this team over the last few months just came out and destroyed us. First of all, Sokratis, brilliant player. I think his tandem work with Koscielny is brilliant. Just a solid pair. And again, in terms of the starts, I've talked about we've gone up early against Bate, Southampton and Bournemouth, and then we did it again today, and we did it against Spurs as well. So, you know, we're scoring early. It's great. You know, it's fantastic. But that red card, 2 yellows, you should never, a man of that experience, 30 years old, should never go off for 2 yellows so early in the game. So that's on you, bro. That's on you, Sokratis. That's on you, mate. But that's where the problem started. My attention started to divert away from the players on the field onto the sidelines. So I'm sitting there, regardless of what's going on the field, I'm sitting there saying, what's this man Emery going to do now? What's he going to do now our backs are against the wall? And believe me, they were against the wall because Rennes was coming at us. I was expecting him to bring on Klasnach, especially when they scored and it went to 1-1. You're like, whoa, we need to protect this. We need to protect what we got. Even when we went 2-1 down. And let's be honest, they scored some cracking goals. I mean, with the amount of pressure that they was putting on us and the saves that Peter Cech was making, boy, I was surprised because of our ineptness that we only lay in 3 goals. And I think that's what frustrates the fans, is that you're in the 88th minute, you're losing 2-1. It's a good, you know, decent result, because, you know, Ozil had a sitter as well. Ozil had a chance. So it could have been 2-2. But we had a chance. At 2-1, we could just take them back to the Emirates. 2 or 3 goals would have been able to get us through. But the lack of cover after the red card was astonishing. Monreal was getting hung out to dry. He was on an island. And that was Emery's fault. He should have put on Klasnach to give him support on that left-hand side. And instead he puts an attacking player in Mkhitaryan at left back, and not just that, but he takes off our best attacking defender, which is Iwobi, and puts on Ramsey. Now I don't mind the fact that Ramsey came off. If they expected probably Ozil to come off, you know, you guys know I'm a big Ozil fan, but when you're down to 10 men, you can't afford to carry a guy who's not going to get back and to defend for you, and that's just logic. So, you know, at the time, we're not really looking to score, we're looking to protect our lead. So that's just logic. And the manager doesn't do that. He doesn't shore up that defense. He doesn't bring Maitland-Niles on, and he doesn't bring on Klasnach. And that is a real and he takes off Iwobi. That is a real head scratcher. I can't get my head around that. But to then suffer with and this is on Monreal really, to be so high up the pitch at that late in the game when you're trying to protect a league. What? This is why this team is in the trouble they are. This is why this team finished outside the top 4. Because that's their identity. That's who these guys are. It shouldn't become a shock to us because we're seeing this happen every week. How much times were we giving a ball away? I mean, we couldn't string 3 or 4 passes together. It was embarrassing. And it was plain sight as well. Some of the balls, it's like, okay, you see the player in front of you and, you know, is not an Arsenal player, and you're playing the ball to them. Other times it was not even players looking up, seeing where the passes were. They were just expecting an Arsenal player to be on the end of where they were passing. It was damn foolery. And I don't see this kind of play from any of the other top teams. This is where Arsenal has really been struggling. Since the days of, you know, Santi Cazorla and Arteta, players in the midfield who are really good at possession. Players who could look after the ball. High percentage. I mean, even, they talk about El Nene. Even El Nene's pass percentage in the midfield is 94% average. It's way higher than any of the players that we've got at the moment. And obviously, we know El Nene is not a first team player. But I'm talking about basic football. Stuff you learn on the playground when you're at school. Stuff that you should be practicing on the training ground every week. We're just not seeing it translate onto the field. Now, there's a theory here that we're nosediving into the Wenger habit. And what happened with Wenger was embarrassing because, by all accounts, Wenger was giving them a game plan. They just didn't follow through with it because of the lack of discipline. And we're starting to see that lack of discipline rear its ugly head in Emery's team. And that's not a good sign. It's really not. Because this is where Wenger felt helpless towards the end of his tenure. The players just weren't responding to what he was doing. Now, with Emery, I think that there's a level of this that's happening, but at the same time, he also has himself to blame. Not switching the formation into a defensive formation after the red card was a big problem. You lose a man and you're still playing 3 at the back. Who does that? What team goes down to 10 men and is still playing 3 at the back? Who does that? You know, you deserved to lose by the score you lost by last night because of the lack of changes. You didn't help your team. And we talk about being responsible, accountable. Emery is the captain of the ship. And he weren't steering the ship very well last night. And unfortunately, okay, the red card's not on him, but you've got to manage your team. This damage limitations, you've got to make adjustments. And I just didn't see those adjustments coming from him yesterday. Sorry, but I got to call it out how it is. I'm not. Don't think in any way, shape, or form that I'm not backing the manager. I back him 100%. But I got to call it out. I got to say how it is. I got to call it out. And my man was just lost yesterday. The formation was wrong. The substitutions were wrong. His lines, he weren't managing them. You see him normally when he's waving people on and he's pointing in terms of how deep he wants the line, how short he wants the line. It was almost as if that went out of his head. He weren't managing them at all. We were still defending with a high line with 10 men on the field. And they had pace. They had hella pace in that team. And to play a high line, and this issue about not stopping crosses is doing my head in. If you're a defender and a winger is 5 yards in front of you, 5 yards is enough for him to get that ball into the box. By you closing him down and stopping that cross from coming in has helped to stop an attack from coming through. And that's not happening on you know, with our fullbacks. There's a lot of problems here, guys. Problems that we already know of. And when they come up like this, you can only shake your head. Yeah, you can only shake your head because everything points to the manager now and how he's going to overcome this. How is he going to get these players whose heads have dropped now to get up for the Man United game? That's the key, man. You got to get your guys up to that game. And I said before that I understand that rotation is key. I get it. I said it was going to happen. But that team balance and movement that he had against Bournemouth was astonishing. And I hadn't seen it this season, even when we were on our unbeaten streak. To score, and obviously Guendouzi gave away the goal, didn't he, on the end of the era. So the score really should have been 5-0. That was our best game of the season. We looked amazing. Everything was clicking. I really think that having those 3 number 10s behind Lacazette really worked well, and that's how you got to go into Man United. You've got to go into that game with the 3 number 10s behind Lacazette. Where was Denis Suarez last night? What a waste of time. My man, you might as well send him straight back to Spain now, because he ain't doing nothing here. You might as well send him back. Another thing I felt was a bit of a shame last night is those are the games that Danny Welbeck really comes through for you. And we talk about attackers who defend well. He's the best. He's the best at doing what he does. No disrespect to Aubameyang and the lack of service he got last night, but he weren't doing himself any favours. I've always said this season how as good a finisher and clinical as he is, and he's one of the world's best, is as bad as he plays off the ball. He doesn't hold the ball up well. For a man of his ability, he should be giving you an Henry type game on the wing. He should be using his pace to go past players and bring others into play. He can't do that. So he's not a very good player in a one up front system. He's more, like Dortmund was more of a 2 up front, wasn't it? It was more of a 2 up front or front 3. And this 4-2-3-1 just doesn't favour him as a player. It more favours Lacazette. And another thing I got to remind you guys of, when we had that 22 game unbeaten streak, who was the man that was playing up front? Let me refresh your memories. In the first 3 games, when we lost to Man City, lost to Chelsea, it was Aubameyang that was the point anchor man. And they changed it. They put Lacazette up front and played Aubameyang off him. And we were unstoppable. We don't have that now. So when you hear me call out Unai Emery, those are the things I'm calling him out for. Because we're not seeing that. We're not seeing the tactical side of what he brought. This is almost back to Wenger ball, where you're just throwing the players on the field and leaving them to do, trust them to do what you think is the right thing. I'm just not seeing as much input on the sidelines anymore. So for me, a loss is a loss. It's going to be extremely tough for us to come back and win that second leg. Extremely tough. But we need 4 goals. I said it in the forum last night. We need 4 goals. If we're going into that game thinking 2-0 is going to do it, because our defence is so bad, we're going to let a goal in. If we don't let a goal in, then that's fair enough. They're going to use their width to try and penetrate us on the counter when we're at home. But we're just going to have to go for it. There's no 2 ways about it. And we can do it, but will we do it? That's the thing, yeah? On to Man United next. Like and subscribe, guys. Thanks for supporting the channel. A big shout out to the WhatsApp group. Big shout out to Facebook, Arsenal, #101. And everybody else out there in the world of Arsenal Football Club. Big up your team. And we'll bring this back against Man United. Peace out, people.